Well, he didn't. He didn't have any. He was an oddball. I don't. Did you ever meet him?
Sure, several times. In fact, I was out here I spent most of the time with you in Bellevue. Bellevue, you lived in Bellevue,
Yeah.
and he took me. I think I was with a friend, and we went up to an air show.
Oh
in-
yes.
I don't even know
You
if
were
we
just
went
a young kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was in high school. We went to
Well,
Canada or
So
something.
that's what I mean. Yeah. Yeah.
It was north of Seattle. It was spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Well,
really
he was
impressed.
enamored of that. He'd like to do that kind of thing, and so on. And
He was
did-
a frustrated engineer or something, right? It just seemed like it.
well,
anyway.
he had to make a choice between music and engineering.
Okay.
And he went. His folks took him to University of Indiana or something, which was a good school, and he decided that music was what he wanted to do. Yeah.
But he patented some things, which seems like a very engineering thing to do.
Well, he patented his musical system
Yeah.
for playing the piano, for the keyboard. It was a different kind of keyboard,
Oh,
so that
okay.
the same fingering could play all the different keys. It was, I have the patent, of course, and that was, he worked on that for years. He'd get up in the morning and work on it, and I had 3 children that I had to get breakfast and get off to school, and he would want to talk over this business. I said, I can't do this. Yeah, he was a brain.
He was very musical.
He
too.
was extremely intelligent and a social dud.
Yeah.
He just wasn't, he didn't know how. And well,
I remember being here once with Joan and my kids. You'd moved from Bellevue. You were living someplace else. And a house was being built next to wherever you were. And I remember Uncle Jim saying, you know, I went over there and told them they were putting the insulation on backwards. And I just said, oh,
that's probably
I'll
the
put
house that he built in Bellevue.
Well, I don't remember, but it wasn't his house, but he was volunteering information to a work crew in the neighborhood or somewhere.
Well, that's not, I'm not
But I just
surprised.
thought, okay, I bet that went over like a,
But he
Ton of
built,
bricks.
he built our house
Did
with a pickup crew, yeah.
okay.
Because he found out that the head of the other group was cheating him and getting checks for things that he wasn't spending for equipment,
Uh-huh.
and fired him, and got a little crew and built it himself. It was remarkable. Sometimes the floorboards along the hall never got put in. Didn't bother me any. We never had curtains. We just had Venetian blinds. I didn't care. Anyway, yeah, he was a different person.
Yeah.
Yeah, different person. Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
yeah. Okay.
I'm interested. I mean, I do remember him fondly. He was a very, he had a very big head and he had a very ugly haircut. Kind of a military thing or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, his hair wouldn't lie down.
Was that
And
it?
when I first, in our wedding pictures, it slicked down, you know. And on our honeymoon, with all the to-do in the night, you know, he wasn't about to have that hair hanging in his head. So we were in Ocean Grove on our honeymoon. He went to the barber and got it cut off. I went with him. I can't believe that I did this. I went with him the first time, and I had them stop. He said, that's enough. And he knew right away that he wasn't, but he wasn't going to argue with me there. So he went back later and had him cut it off to the butch cut.
Yeah.
And that was what he had to have, because his hair stuck straight up.
Straight up.
My father's stuck straight up too, and he always had a butch cut. But you guys drove out for our wedding, right? I seem to remember
I seem
in
to remember
Kalispell,
that, too.
Montana.
I think you might have come.
Where?
That- It would have been in northwest Montana in 1983.
Yes. We came out for the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been kicking myself ever since that I didn't bring the rest of the family, and why I didn't, I don't know. They were off doing something else someplace else, and I should have brought them so that they could meet everybody,
Right.
and I just didn't.
Well, Alice came down once when we had a family reunion on the shore in Oregon. You came, Aunt Mary came, and I think you came
Oh
with
yes,
Alice.
that was 19.
I don't know.
2003.
Okay.
Yeah, 2003.
Yes.
Yeah, Mary and I came down on the
Yeah,
train.
Yes.
That's
And
right.
Alice came with you, and I don't know if Martha was there. or
None of
not.
our family was there, just Mary and me.
Oh, okay.
None of my
I thought
family
Alice
was there.
for some reason.
Uh-huh.
Alice came out to Clear Lake one time when we were there.
Yes,
Oh,
that was in
okay.
about 1990 or so. Yeah.
Something.
I was looking at pictures of that just the other day. Yeah, yeah. That was nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so what is this referring
That's
to?
grandfather and grandmother Miller.
Meaning
1910.
your
That's
mother's
my
parents.
grandfather, my mother's family, my mother's
Yeah.
parents.
He looks like a bit of a rake in that picture. Is it just the stance with
yeah.
the wide open knees and
Yeah,
the leaning back? He's just very
yeah, very casual.
casual and
I don't.
comfortable.
Uh-huh.
And she looks quite a bit older than he
David?
does.
No, she was maybe a year or two younger.
Hang on just a second.
But
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right, now you were saying age-wise.
I think he was maybe older than she, a year or two. I don't really
Okay.
know, but he was a casual person,
Was he?
and she I remember once they had their first car was a Ford, a Model T,
Mhm.
but anyway, and grandmother said she liked to ride in our car because I ride in that Ford and you feel like 10 cents. You really feel like something in the big Buick that. Yeah.
And he was an editor, newspaper
He had a
man.
newspaper. He was no businessman. He was not successful. He ended up selling insurance, and I can't imagine him selling insurance because that's a gung ho business.
Uh-huh.
But that was.
That's who we're talking
But he
about.
had a newspaper in Grinnell.
And
a
then out in
printing- a print shop.
Nebraska somewhere too?
Yeah.
Because they were born in Nebraska, right? The
No, they were
girls.
born. Mother was born in Iowa, but they moved to Nebraska when she
Oh.
was young.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And this is another picture of them
Yes. Well, that was 1925.
25.
Charlie was just a baby.
15 years later.
Yeah.
So they look a little the worse for wear.
Yeah.
But now this is interesting because it's another one of the same pictures, only it's Murray, not Jesse, as the little Ottoman
Yeah.
or
Or maybe
Armenian
that was a
or
costume,
whatever.
or maybe they just dressed him in her clothes.
And it says here Stouffer Studios Asbury Park. So it's when their children,
Oh, Asbury Park. Well, that was
Yeah.
when they were visiting in the East.
Ocean
and
Grove.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they must have gone to a studio and put those costumes on.
It must be.
I don't know what they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Armenians, Ottomans, something.
Yeah.
What is this?
The Lansingburg Seminary, where Mother went to school, 1865. Yeah.
But mother meaning your grandmother.
My grandmother. Yeah.
Jesse.
That was my father. That. I think that's my father's printing.
Okay. Where mother went to school. So a private girls' school of some sort?
So I think so. Yeah.
Where was that?
Lansingburg. Is that New York?
Yeah. And this is the factory.
Grandfather McMurray's brush factory.
I don't know if this is the one that burned.
Yeah, the new or the old one?
There was one. I found a letter that grandfather, my grandfather, my great grandfather, had written about a fire in the brush factory in 59 that was confined to the furnace room, and they had it cleaned up in a matter of weeks, and were back in business in a couple of months. And I have often wondered if the speed with which they cleaned up that fire had anything to do with the fire that erupted in the new rebuilt factory.
Oh.
In 1860 would have been 1862, 63.
So they
No,
never-
they went to Russia to buy bristles in 1863, I think. So
Oh.
maybe 1865 it burned. I don't know. I don't know whether that would have been anything or not. But
You say your great grandfather you're talking about.
Yeah.
What was his name?
John G.
John G. Is he the one in the big portraits?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What were the bristles made out of?
They went to Russia to buy them from the animals there. I don't know what they would have
Wild boar or
specifically,
something.
but I just know he bought them from Russia. Ermine? I really don't know. Yeah.
And this is where, so this is your grandfather was born and lived as a
My-
boy.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Well, July 11th, 1853. So this is Leslie
That's Leslie's.
Arnold.
Yeah.
Who grew up in that.
They were a
monster.
very wealthy family and had lots of advantages.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm,
And that's where that was grandmother's home
Right.
in Lansing. And they were married in this home because John G. had just died, and they didn't want to have a big wedding. So it was a very
I
quiet
see.
wedding. But I guess there's some remark someplace I read about the wedding gifts were just fantastic. But there was a lot of gold and silver and wonderful stuff.
Okay, so this is Sarah Jesse's
Home.
home,
Yeah.
natal home.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
And this is her. I think this is her father and mother.
okay.
Her.
But not, okay, in old
her
age.
father was her father a minister? I think so.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
I don't know. I'm
You never met them, obviously.
No, I've just seen the pictures. I think that was her father, her
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, this is her cousin.
Whose cousin?
These
These are your cousins.
these are grandmother's daddy's cousins. I didn't realize that grandmother McMurray had 3 sisters. I thought there were only 2. The Elizabeth that went with her to her European trip, and Alice, who married George and had the house in Asbury Park. And these were the daughters of an older sister that she's in one of the pictures, but I don't ever remember hearing anybody talk about an older sister.
And these are the 2 cousins, unmarried cousins, Francis and Mabel.
They were missionaries to China.
Right, and they retired into little cabins in Ocean Grove. Didn't they have property in Ocean Grove?
They had property in Ocean Grove.
Yeah.
Not cabins, they were just small bungalows,
Okay,
they called
okay.
it. Yeah. And the younger sister lived in our house for a year, and mother had a difficult time, but she did it. But
Younger sister of
not this one, her sister, the other one,
Francis.
Frances. She spent a winter in our house.
I see.
She wasn't well.
Oh, as an old woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I can vaguely remember her being there, but just very vague.
Yeah.
And I know mother didn't like it, but mother was a good scout. Yeah. And now that's
Do you recognize these women?
that must be the 4 sisters. Yeah, that's Aunt Alice, that's grandmother,
Okay.
and this must be Aunt the other one, Aunt that went with her to
Oh, to Egypt?
Egypt, and that would be the older one.
Okay.
That would be this one's mother.
So this is Aunt Alice.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, now do it.
This is Aunt Alice. This is your mother That-
That's
or your grandmother.
my grandmother.
Your grandmother. Aunt Alice.
Jessie, that's Jessie.
Grandmother Jessie. This is the aunt of
Elizabeth.
that went to Egypt,
Went
and
to
this
Egypt.
is the mother of
And
the
that-
2
And I
missionaries.
don't know.
Don't know her
there's
name.
She's in one other picture, and I don't know whether the grandmother ever talked about her.
Are they Millers? No, Miller is the other side of the family.
They were,
These are Dunhams?
Dunhams,
Dunhams, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And their father was a minister, a Methodist minister. Methodist? No, I don't know. I don't know what.
Well, that would make sense, because Ocean Grove is Methodist.
Well, yes, that would be it. That's
a
it. Yeah,
Methodist
that's
town.
right. Yeah. Oh, that's it.
So that's your grandmother on your
That's
mother's
my grandmother
side.
Miller, and I can remember when she died. She was setting the table for lunch. We were coming home from school. She was setting, and she fell on the dining room floor, and Daddy carried her into the sofa, and I can remember him standing there with his arm around my mother, and mother was crying.
Oh.